super excited to have the VRLAB here. This is Adam and Iva.
Hello.
They've been working on a lot of VR projects. It started in 2014?
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, in VR terms, that's a long time.
We are ancient.
First question I have here is basically, so I know you've worked on a lot of VR projects. So what was kind of your favorite, and what were maybe the challenges you faced with it, or what were some of the things that were really easy about it, or exciting? Anything along those lines?
No.
Yeah.
I'll keep it wide open, so you can talk about it however you want.
You know, I think one of my favorites was probably one of the first ones we did. We put together 6 teams from our community and presented them to Samsung early on. This is in 2014 when VR was very new, and I guess I'm gonna look at the camera. Okay. And anyhow, so yeah, VR was really new back then, and we had a lot of excitement in our community, and people had DK1s back then, and we were doing various things with them. And Samsung was taking interest in our group, and we got to put together a bunch of pitches and do like a rapid fire, like here's the community, and I enjoyed that because like it really set the tone for the next 3 years that we were part of this like thriving Bay Area developer scene. And someone would just have a cool idea, someone else would join in, next thing you know, they'd be a team, and then Patrick and Drew get bought by Google. Whoa, how did that happen?
Surprise, surprise.
And, we had a group called Luxury that was like sponsoring some of the meetups early on. Like they sponsored SVVR, they sponsored Eva's meetup as well, and then suddenly they get bought by Snapchat, and they turn into one of the most successful AR implementations in the industry. And that happened here, and we know those founders, and we met those people, and it like really made it very real. And I think it's probably one of the reasons that's probably my most exciting project, was just providing resources for those teams to do it. I mean, as a developer, I've built things, I've made things, prototypes come and go, but it's really the people ultimately at the end of the day that you really remember the relationships of, and that's probably my favorite.
Awesome.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, one of the things that I love a lot about VR is the community. I think it's still pretty small. Like as much as it's like a consumer product, and we want it to grow as much as fast as we can, it's still pretty small. And just coming to SVVR meetups and all of these meetups, and you get to meet these cool people. They're passionate. They're so passionate about building whatever they want to build. And I mean, I see this in our YouTube chat too. Everyone here is passionate. They want to make immersive tech, and I kind of put this in this funnel of immersive tech. And I don't know if we should be differentiating between AR and VR at this point, but
maybe right now since it's early, but I think eventually we're not going to need to do that.
I'm hoping not.
I just call it reality tech.
Reality.
And
the other reality. This is real reality, but then we are manifesting this other reality, which is where I think that passion comes from, because we're all passionate about creating the infinite. So in a lot of ways, I'm a yogi, so I see this in a spiritual way in a lot of ways. And personally, I use those filters that Luxury made, that Snapchat, in different ways, in more artistic ways. So I'm looking forward to those tools as a creator, non-coder, to create these other realities with such as tilt brush and blocks and the AR stuff. So.
Cool. So can you tell us a little bit more about maybe a project you're working on right now, or a prototype even?
Certainly. So right now we've done a lot of product design work, prototype design, and for projects, and we did a music visualizer just recently based off of a lot of the feedback we were getting from demoing at these events. And maybe just to step back a little bit, I feel like there's a really relevant quote from Steve Jobs, and I'm going to butcher it without seeing it, but it basically says that you have to start with the end user experience and then work back to the technology, not the other way around. And up until now, the industry really has been the other way around, and it's totally normal for it to be like that, because you'll get a bunch of enthusiastic people together, and someone say, hey, I'm good at this. Someone else says, hey, I'm good at that. And someone says, hey, if you put what you're good at and what I'm good at, what do we make together? And so that's kind of the engineering approach of, let's come up with, and it maybe someone find something useful, what we're all good at, versus this is what the customer wants. How is what I'm good at help them, And so we wanted to early on figure out what the users really wanted, and spent thousands of hours doing demos and selling headsets and doing like the real hard work. Eva really was the one who did the hard work.
Which is taking it to the retail level in 2014 and partnering with West Coast Leather, a San Francisco historic store in the middle of Union Square, and setting up, because my background is fashion and tech, I set up this cool fashion window in Union Square and had like the tourists coming in, and not knowing what this was. And then I feel that the iPhone, honestly, is the front door of VR and AR. Just from my research, like 80% of people that have iPhones want to do VR. It's a certain kind of clientele, that buys an iPhone, for example. And I was interested in the psychology of that, and then bringing that research to our team, and building what needs to be built from like the customer.
And I'll say I've been really, really frustrated sometimes seeing the data and having to build for the data, and it's like, I'll say, okay, Eva, I'm doing the VR jam here. I'm gonna make this awesome Gear VR app, and then she comes back and says, yeah, that's 3% of our phones. 3% of the people buying headsets from us have the right Samsung phone for a Gear VR. So you're leaving 97% of the market open. By building it that way, and I know that we had to go through this phase of proprietary technology in order to push it forward. But now we're at this point with like ARKit and Daydream, and also some of the new inside-out tracking, mobile-based devices that are starting to come out of the funnel. That next generation really is taking the bad news we heard from the market and then turning it into consumer-grade products that the consumers are going to love. And that's what I think that our project we're working on really fed from was that we realized that we had to build something that was right for today, and
which was starting with music, because that was like the most popular demo, like just that works on iPhone, that works on everything. And it's like, these snackable little experiences. And then that kind of, inspired us to build a music visualizer.
And music, too, was honestly a total crutch. I was struggling with how do I, as an amateur developer here, really make something compelling with presence. And I asked myself a question, which is quite simply, can a blind person feel presence in a virtual reality environment? And I couldn't say no to that. I realized that if I had like a really great meditation teacher and I closed my eyes, they could take me into a VR world far better than what I was getting from some of the tech that we have today. And so ultimately it's about getting kind of like imaginative buy-in from your user. And music was like this really powerful, cheap, easy crutch to get there. That was the first thing. The second thing is that demos are boring after a certain length of time, and music happens to be this perfect little 5-minute long story. Beginning, middle, end, 5 minutes.
And do you really get sick of your favorite song?
Nope.
Because you just want to experience it again. We brought it to a party, the music visualizer, and this girl, she was just like in it forever, drinking her wine and and just like having her own experience.
She went straight to Coachella. It was
fun. She was like in her own Coachella world. That was fun.
That's really trippy.
So, are there any questions?
There are. Going back to the community, what's the best way to find/create VR dev communities?
Oh well, what worked great 3 years in San Francisco probably doesn't work so well today in San Francisco, but it probably works really, really well in middle America right now, because the saying is the future is here, it's just unevenly distributed. And a lot of new things will happen here in San Francisco. We all get excited about it, and dev communities come together, and then a couple years later, it's blasé. It's like, okay, we know that now. But that has not happened in small town America, and there are really smart people there, and there are really good technologists there, and there are profitable businesses there, and that have been funded technology companies, and so the talent is there. They just need to pull themselves together. Now, the reason that I feel that VR is an event-driven business primarily right now is that we have a lot of enthusiast tools. You have to be an enthusiast to use these tools because they're really time-wise expensive to manage, maintain, and keep going. And so right now it's hard to share this stuff, and so you need an operator to come and operate a VR demo and then share that with the greater community, create the excitement that actually gets the developers excited about doing it. So the easiest way I would tell people is do something like a meetup, find people with like interest, pull it together, figure out who has the equipment to run it, play with the equipment, deploy to it. It's like the best way is user testing. Have an idea, test it.
Rapid iteration.
That's awesome. The second question here is, what types of VR apps will allow the industry to make next steps to widespread adoption? We talked a little about music, or is there anything else you see around the house? Social.
It really needs to be social and easy to share.
Okay.
And cross-platform.
So I saw with your audio visualizer, you had that as multiplayer already. So that's obviously something you're definitely thinking about.
Something that we are.
Well, so the music visualizer we have not deployed, or we do not have in production a multiplayer experience people can do.
Sure.
So right now we are really building for Eva and my experience of going to an event, having a demo that we built that we could share to create the line and the excitement and the energy. And then from that, we actually have to pay our bills at the end of the day. So we get there by doing a lot of product design, consulting work, and that really has been a good way of showing what we're good at, so that we get pulled into like 7-digit advertising deals that need like someone who knows what VR is before they go spend all that money. And that's the good news is people are now spending this kind of cash on VR.
The brands and the agencies, they're needing a guide to, kind of show them how to build this product pipeline.
But that money is going to go away if it doesn't return an audience. Because ultimately, we don't want the people who are spending money in VR to be burned by that investment.
Exactly.
They need to see good return for this. And so, we built the visualizer to show like things about presence, because so many of our users, when they did demos, were getting overloaded with what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And it turned into a game mechanic game design problem, not a VR problem. And I realized, okay, I don't want them to do anything. I just want them to be.
Just be.
Let's start with being and then come back. And strangely, that is way better than any crappy VR experience I tried to gamify or put mechanics into. And I kind of
simplicity at this point.
Yeah.
So, I guess talking a little bit, you've mentioned iPhones, you've mentioned mass adoption, so ARK.
Yeah.
So is this something you're working on? Like, obviously, to me, it fits both of those bills. Obviously, it's still not the same, it's not the ideal case, so here's a link. And you still have to download the app, and I'm imagining when it launches, you're probably going to have these shorter experiences, but is that something you're working towards?
Well, we did an ARK experience, a little game jam last month.
Awesome.
And it was...
with some really talented people.
Really, seriously.
So and thanks, guys.
And, I'll say that, okay, so... mass adoption, happens when the technology is boring. I think Clay Shirky said that until the tools get boring, you can't get socially interesting. And it's like as long as we're really geeking out at tech, we're gonna really lose out. And so we had to get past that. And when it comes to mass adoption, it's like this is what I consider to be the MVP of VR right now. Is just like a little Himido headset and and your mobile phone, which is cardboard level quality experience, or Daydream, or whatever you want to call it. But
it fits in my purse.
But it's quick, right? It's portable and it's effective. However, it's an accessory. And just the fact you have an accessory, this is like a 90% attrition on your users. Do they even have the headset?
Nope.
And the answer is no, they don't. Even if they do, it's at home, or if it's they've lost it or what have you. And so
but they've got their phone.
That's been the challenge.
Always.
Right? But ARKit, what's so great about it is you don't even need this.
Nope.
Right? And now we know that location-based augmenting reality with location gaming really worked great for Pokemon last year.
I'm still not sure if that was just Pokemon or if it applies to anything else.
Okay. I think what excites me about Pokemon is actually the same thing that excites me about the Vive.
Okay.
And,
Which is?
Well,
How does that? I'm curious.
Okay. Well, so let me hear you out. So right now we have two classes of users on the internet. We have consumers and we have creators, right? The consumers are being put into an agentic state of sitting back and consuming media, right?
Yeah.
Everything about our tech is like taking our attention and making us just sit back and consume, and we just want to look at a screen, and we turn off our brains, we turn off our bodies, we sit on the sofa, we do nothing. And when we've been scared to death, I put a VR headset on somebody, they're just going to turn into a drooling idiot, you know. But what happened with the Vive is incredible. As soon as someone had hands, they stood up. They stood up off the sofa. They got up off the lazy boy.
Yeah.
You know, this is probably death for modern American broadcast media that has like entrained Americans to sit like drooling idiots in front of the television. Because now we have a technology that tells you to get up off your butt, swing a bat around. You know, it's like you know, swinging a sword in Skyrim used to be just hitting a button. Now you actually have to swing your arm. You'll get exhausted doing that. So that's what excites me about the Vive. Now, let me tell you why Pokemon's the same way. Is that Pokemon
already?
Pokemon got people together to do something outside of the house. And I tell you, when we were living like right there at Rincon Hill when everything happened, we went down to Cupid's Span,
bow and arrow,
and we're looking around, and we were like, oh, well, the view's great, you know, walking with our dogs, everything. But everybody around us was in this other augmented reality. That they were in a different reality from us.
Yeah,
but they were still outside. They were not on the sofa.
But
you know,
still.
like so that was kind of cool.
And so this is what excites me about reality tech is that, you know, we are as a species about to experience a whole new level of quality in the content and media that we create and consume. And you know, we think that it's as good as it's gonna get sitting on a sofa, drooling like an idiot, watching the magic mirror on the wall show us Game of Thrones. But guess what? Better's coming. You could be in Game of Thrones. You can swing that sword, and that's what this reality tech is offering us. So I'm really excited about all that.
You've brought up some interesting points. So one of my theses, I don't even want to call it a thesis, but one of my hypotheses is that, I mean, to some extent, humans are kind of driven to be energy conservative, which another way of putting that is lazy. So when you have this like button type of thing, like, and I think a lot of gamers are like right now facing this is like, I have this button that I can press, so why would I go to there where I have to swing this sword and I have to spend the energy? As one of the things I think that's actually hurting this mass adoption is the fact that people want to be lazy. So, I mean, have you by any chance seen Sword Art Online?
No.
It's so the idea there is that it's this virtual world, so it's VR, but and this is getting to the crazy sci-fi, is like they have a neural connection to your brain so that you don't have to move when you actually want to move in the virtual world.
Right.
So that gets rid of the laziness. I don't have to spend any energy. I just need to use my brain, which I mean you do anyways with the game. It's kind of scary.
It's a little scary. I know.
And I mean that whole game, the whole show is about basically this setting where someone hacks into your brain so that you can't escape VR. At a very high level, that's not spoiling much. So it is very scary. The show is designed to be scary. But the tech is interesting because it offers you that fact to be lazy. It's actually one of my concerns with ARKit is that a lot of people are going to build things that like, wait, I can move around, sure, but why can't I just swipe? Like that's a lot less friction for me. So I don't know where that goes, but do you have any thoughts on, I guess, that whole laziness factor of?
So I mean, it's the law of least effort, and that's a huge factor in user experience design that you know, that enthusiasts often miss when we're building stuff, because you know, we have enthusiasm to do the hard thing.
I'm willing to go swing that sword and kill those enemies.
I mean, let's go a step back. It's like right now my Vive got bricked 2 days ago with a whole I got the Compositor 400 error that like, oh great, now I'm just like diving through like Reddit after Reddit trying to solve it, and it's like I'll do that because I'm enthusiastic about it, right? But we have to get to the point where, you know, it meets the law of less effort, where it's easier to do something in VR than it is in RR, right? And that's kind of the thing. It's like I see a lot of startups, unfortunately, that are getting funded that you have to say, like, is your user value actually increased by being in virtual reality?
Yeah.
Or is this just, wouldn't it be cool if?
Yeah.
Right? And like when I did, like one of the first things I did in VR was I ported Skyrim to Vorpix and then did, put that into VR. And the first thing I learned from that was that it was so beautiful inside of Skyrim. The last thing I wanted to do was go into a creepy dungeon and fight skeletons. I actually just wanted to like sit on the mountain and just take in how gorgeous the environment was.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we have to realize that we're going to act differently in VR when it's a first-person, like a real, not, okay, we call first-person shooters, but they're really third-person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
third-person on a first-person thing, right? And we still have that kind of monkey see, monkey do separation. You know, it's like, okay, I'm excited because I see a thing on the screen that's kind of my avatar doing an awesome thing, which is still a very different experience from having it be your true subjective Umwelt, your reality. And as we do this, we're seeing that like, hey, it's fun to watch Saving Private Ryan. It's not fun to be Saving Private Ryan. No one wants to be him. So.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's someone who does. Now, is that the mass audience? Probably not.
Right. And we have to get to a point where we have mass audience use, and you hit it on the nose. It's like, is there utility in what you're trying to do in reality tech? How does reality tech help you with that? And where ARKit, I think, is amazing is like the ability to do 3D visualizations.
Yes.
Obviously, anything that's 3D is great because you could use your camera as like a virtual camera on a 3D thing. And this is so much easier to do than it is for me to like grab vector handles with a mouse.
No, I agree.
And move stuff around.
Even, I mean, if you're talking about the phone, the interface on the phone is not designed for moving around. Games that put a joystick on there, they're horrible.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So there are a ton more questions, but I mean, we're running out of time here, so I'm gonna have to cut it short. We'll stick around in the chat to help answer anything, but thanks so much again for watching, everyone. This is awesome, and I appreciate the comments and questions too, because there's a lot of good stuff, and this conversation was great also.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Yeah, so if you haven't, you can follow these people on the VRLAB at Twitter. I'll put that when I go through and edit this video, and we're always on at FusedVR on Twitter and Facebook.
And also join AR VR Women and Allies.
Yeah. For
more diversity in the community.
100%. You guys are based in the Bay Area.
Yes.
Really quick tangent is are there any other communities I guess outside the Bay Area because a lot of people here are international.
I know it's like
something to think about.
Yeah, something to think about. We'll get back to you with that.
Well, I would just say start a community in your community.
Yeah, just do it.
And it's like it's really as simple as just create a Facebook group with your local friends and say who's into this. Let's go.
Yeah, we definitely need more of that.
Yeah, awesome. So I expect people in the chat to do that.
Yay.
And so thanks so much. This is Adam and Eva, and I'm FuseMan, and we're signing out.